And we're live. Welcome to another episode of the Professional Practice Builders Society weekly tips and strategies show. And geez, I must not be goofy enough because I'm not getting my co-host Dr. Mark to laugh. So as you can see, I'm on the screen with my co-host Dr. Mark Kosman. Say hi to the folks, Dr. Mark. Yeah, exactly. Interesting. Um, Folks, I can tell you right now that I think we're audically challenged, audio challenged.
Auditorily challenged? Audio broadcast challenged?
There we go. Okay, now I think you can hear. Now I think you can hear Dr. Mark.
Houston, we had a problem.
Yes, gee, what a what a surprise! And we're gonna kind of say hi again, just because I don't think you heard Dr. Mark the first time. I know you can hear me, but that's why we have production crews in the background watching.
Well,
And
I'll say hi again. Hello. Welcome to another episode.
all right. And tonight's episode, now that I think we've got all of our technical challenge solved, tonight's episode is going to focus on the D in our IDAP strategy. In other words, can you define the solution to the solution to your ideal clients identified? I was just about to tell them what IDAP was, in case you haven't been following along. Interesting. I think, okay, I'm pausing because I think we're having dead air. Um, Folks, if you're watching, bear with us for just 1 second.
The
And
gremlins are back.
there we go. Okay. And I think we're okay now as long as one thing happens. So okay, we will. Our production crew is keeping an eye on this, and we hope that everything will be okay. We're now 2 minutes into our show. The good news is we're going a half hour tonight, so we'll probably tidy some of this up later on. But Dr. Mark, why don't you, so I can make sure we absolutely 100% have your audio, why don't you explain the IDAP solution to
All right,
people
I will
real
do this
quick?
in 20 seconds or less, maybe. We'll see. A Dr. Mark, 20 seconds. How about that? So our theme for this month, we have the system that we've developed to give you to help you create great content, and we call it IDAP. 4 steps. I for identify the target problems that your ideal client has. D that we're going to talk about tonight is define that problem, and we'll talk about what that means. The A is you're going to articulate the steps and the solution that you're going to provide your ideal client to deal with this problem. And then the P of IDAP is that you're going to package this piece of content into a form that you're going to then either broadcast, publish, distribute, deliver, and we'll talk about that in a future episode. So that is IDAP.
Exactly. And from the green bouncy bars, I think we're okay on audio as long as the production crew doesn't touch anything. So, um,
We're keeping an eye on those guys, you
yeah,
know.
exactly. So for tonight's episode, though, we're going to focus on the D, and just to kind of set up tonight's episode, in case say you're just joining us, what we're going to do is for the next probably about 10, 12 minutes, focus on the D and IDAP. Can you define your ideal, the solution to your ideal client's identified problems, and then we're going to go the last 15 minutes of the show. We're going to go and give you a little bit of tips on Twitter and how to get more followers on Twitter. So if I'll throw this plug in, if for some reason you just joined us and you know somebody who needs to get more followers on Twitter, why don't you send them the link, pppsociety.com/weeklytipslive, and have them watch and join us and see if they can and see if they can get something. So to get into the D and IDAP, we're going to give you three key things to complete this step D. The first thing is you're going to put a problem on a page. And the second thing is you're going to ask a whole bunch of questions about that problem. And then the third thing is you're going to decide if you want to solve this problem. So real quick, if you remember, the I was identify your ideal client's problems. And you might identify one or many, but you're going to pick one of those that you identified and put that on the top of a page, ask a whole bunch of questions, and decide if you're going to solve the problems. Right, Dr. Mark?
around one of those problems. So you got to define it, right? So you're going to grab one off your list from your I list. You're going to make it the heading on the top of, if you're a paper and pen kind of person, you like to do this longhand and brainstorm, take a blank sheet of paper, and that is the heading of the page. This is the problem that I'm going to talk about to my ideal client. If you're a word processor kind of person, make it the title of the page, and now you're going to roll up your sleeves. And some people love the term brainstorm. Some people hate it. But what you're going to do is come up with all the different angles you can think of about this problem. What is this problem about? Why does your ideal client care about this problem? Why does it hurt? Why is this painful to them? Why is this important to them? And you're going to come at this from as many different angles as you can. Really work to fill this page with all the different things. Am I good at solving this problem? What are some of the other questions, Chris?
Yeah, I mean, and it's so key. I mean, so one of the questions is what does this problem look like? Why is this a problem? Where are they starting from, and where do they need to go? How much is it going to cost me to solve the problem? So
Right.
part of what you want to start with is you want to start with your ideal client and figure out things about them and what does it look like for them, and how to, basically it even goes back to you talking about your ideal client, talking in their language. But part of what you want to do during this is you want, in the end, make sure that if you're going to take on solving this problem, you can make money at solving this problem and you can charge accordingly, right, Dr. Mark?
Things that align with the products and services that we're in business to offer. You either have a product or a service to solve this problem or in some aspect of this problem. If you don't, then why would you focus on that piece of content? You want to be creating content that is part of your marketing system so that when people are doing their homework, they're doing their research about their pain, they discover your content piece about that. So yes, you need to make sure it aligns with your business plan and that you're good at solving this problem. And as Chris said, that you start to, in this kind of filling this page with information about defining this problem, where is my ideal client starting from? What is their present state? Where is it they're trying to get to? And why is this problem blocking them from getting from where they are to where their desired destination is? And can I help them? Can I help them with, can I teach them something that's going to get them there, which we'll get to in the next step?
Yeah, exactly. And one of the things you said or alluded to is about setting them apart. So some other questions you can ask is, can I do what I need to do to solve this problem better than 80% of the world? You might not be able to do it better than 90 or 100% of the world, but can you at least do it better than 80% of the world? Does solving this problem set me apart? Does solving this problem make me unique, and what competitors do I have? So part of what we're telling you to do, and remember, it's almost like, how can I put this? As a professional practice builder, most professional practice builders that I know don't always think like corporate America, so to speak. And in this case, some of these questions get you thinking a little bit more like corporate America to figure out where you want
in a good way.
in a good way, to figure out where you want to invest your time, your money, and your resources. Because part of the challenge of being a professional practice builder is technically, you almost have unlimited time per se, because it's your own time, even though it's not unlimited. Most of the times professional practice builders go, well, look, I can do 100 different things because it's quote unquote only my time, and let me just kind of figure it out. Well, what we want to show you is think a little bit more like corporate America, even though you might have left corporate America because you didn't like it, which a lot of professional practice builders do. And think of it and ask those same questions to figure out if you even want to take on the problem, because part of defining the solution is really defining, do you even want to do it or not? So think of it like a flow chart. You identified your ideal client, then you define a solution, and first of all, can you define a solution? And then as part of the definition, do you even want to achieve that solution? So that's why you do some free flow thought, you put it on a page, you ask yourself all of these key questions. And then you, in the end, decide if you really want to solve the problem or not. I mean, without going deep into it, Dr. Mark, you and I have lived through this with some of the stuff we're doing with the Professional Practice Builders Society, because there's probably, I would say, 50 things that we figured out we could do for professional practice builders. And
Right.
there's, I can't tell you folks how many twists and turns Dr. Mark and I have taken to come to where we are. And there's been many ideas that we said, hey, we could do this. It's interesting that at the beginning we didn't do this, put it on a page, ask the questions, and decide if we wanted to solve the problem. We just said, we can do it. Let's go try and solve it. And what we've done is, and I'm going to put you on the spot here, Dr. Mark. I think what we're doing is working a lot better now because we're doing this system.
Well, listen, I'll put it the other way around. It's why we created this system. I mean,
True.
we're sharing it with you, but we created it for us. I mean, we created it to organize and systematize the process of trying to create pieces of content that you're then publishing and distributing out to engage with your audience and give them something of value in that content. But when we were talking about doing this episode, Chris, we also came up with a little example that might help to make this a little concrete. What are we really talking about with defining this? And we were talking about the example of, let's say I'm a travel agent and I have a client who travels a lot, who is definitely a good client of mine. And this is how this kind of defined step can evolve. So this client says, hey, I'm in New York and I got to get to LA. I've got a really important client meeting. And here's my problem. I've tried to go online, but I'm in a hurry and I'm on a short deadline. I've got a limited budget. I've got to be there by 10:30 on Friday, and today is Wednesday. And if I don't get there, I'm going to lose this big piece of business. So this travel agent, in defining, says, okay, clearly there's a problem, but I'm not sure I fully have all the parameters of it. I haven't understood it fully. I know you got to get from New York to LA, but tell me again, why is this a problem? Okay, because it's got to fit within the budget. It's got to fit within the time frame, and I've got to get there because there's money on the line. Okay, I get it now. So you can't go by train, you can't go by bus. You've helped me narrow down what it's going to do. So now I'm going to go do my homework and research and come back to you with the ideal solution, which again, we're going to talk about in the next episode when we get to the A of articulating the solution to that ideal client. But that's kind of a mini little micro example of the thought process that you're going through with any of the problems that you're pulling off your list from the I step, from identifying. So you made your problem list, now you pull it off the shelf and you say, okay, do I really understand the client's problem here? Where they're coming from, where they're trying to get to, and what are the pain points? What are the things that make this an important, relevant issue? Because if I can't come up with that part, if I can't make it important and relevant, then you want to move on, scratch it off the list, and find something more important, because probably no one's searching for it. So it's not going to be a great piece of content for your marketing unless you're able to feel your client's pain around this problem. Does that make sense, Chris?
Yeah, exactly. And what the interesting part about the whole thing is, let me take a step back. What Dr. Mark has just illustrated to you is that this IDAP system that we've created for you, and the IDAP method, the IDAP solution, the IDAP, whatever you want to call it, we call it the IDAP system, solution, method, process. I'll think of 17 more things to tack on to the end of that just to confuse you. But no, when you use IDAP, you use it in two specific ways. Number one, when you're bringing a business up and trying to figure out what you want to offer, or when you're trying to figure out your general offerings, you use IDAP to figure those out. That'll create great content. Way number two is when an existing ideal client, a really good top level client, comes to you and says, you're solving all these other problems. I want you to solve this problem for me as well. You then can use the D in IDAP to look at and say, can I even solve that problem? And then you can move on and use the whole, your customers identified a problem, but you can use the rest of the IDAP system to come up with and define, articulate, and package a solution. So I don't want to confuse you all by taking you too deep at this point. Just know that you can use IDAP either at a high level when you're going in and saying, what products or services do I want to offer? I think I want to offer these 5 services. Well, okay, let me make sure that these match with, I identify the ideal client's problems. Let me make sure they match. And then we get into the D step, and we'll take you through the rest of it later on in a month. But when you get into this D step, you're going to define it and you're going to figure out if you can solve the problem or not. You
Well,
can
and again,
also,
this is why this is so important to you for your business, is that, you know, if you have solved a problem or are thinking about solving a problem for one client, and that client is fitting into your definition of your ideal client, my bias is if there's one client, I want to attract more just like that client. That's why it's my ideal client.
yeah,
And if one client has this problem, that client represents potentially thousands or even tens of thousands across the globe, right? I mean, that you're going to try to attract by publicly telling the world how this problem can be solved and demonstrating your expertise by doing that. So that's the
yeah,
real agenda here, is we're creating a great nugget to teach the world and show off your expertise so that the next person that's just like the ideal client you just really did it for is searching that pain point. Now they found you, you've defined this process, and now in next week and the week after, you're going to learn about how to articulate and how to package that so that they can find it. So that's
right.
why it's important.
Exactly. So before we move into Twitter, because we're now got
Oh,
it,
my favorite
we're
subject.
yeah, we're kind of at our 15-minute mark. What I'm going to do is real quick, I'm going to give you I'm going to repeat some of the questions so that you have an easy stopping point if you want to go back and pause and everything. So, what does the problem look like? Why is this a problem? Where are my ideal clients starting from? Where do my ideal clients need to go? How much will it cost me to solve the problem? Can I do this better than 80% of the public, of the rest of the world? Does solving this problem set me apart? Does solving this problem make me unique? And what competitors do I have? So when you write your problem on the piece of paper, answer at least these questions and others that Dr. Mark's given you earlier and others you come up with on your own. And in the end, make that valid decision if you want to solve the problem or not. Because what we can do isn't always what we should do and isn't always what we are going to do. Right, Dr. Mark?
Solve in my professional work that I don't really want to solve more of. So I'm not going to publicize those. I'm going to do them when they come up, when I want to, you know, finish working with a client. But you want to create great content around the ones you actually want to be known as the expert for, and that's going to be a big green light for you to go ahead and move on to the next two steps in the IDAP system. So we'll get to those.
Exactly. So let's talk about Twitter a little bit, because you and I, Mark, we were talking earlier, and well, we had a great guest.
It's painful for me to talk about Twitter.
Yeah, and we had
I'll talk about Twitter if you make me talk about Twitter.
Okay, well, we had a great social media guest on last week, Hannah Tai from Chatterbox Social Media. I will eventually get that right. Hannah, we love you.
You got it right. You got it right. You had to stop and think about it, but you got it right.
So, you know, she was a great guest, and this week we were talking. We were setting up this show. We were talking about other pain points of professional practice builders, and one of the pain points came up was Twitter. And so Dr. Mark and I talked, and I realized that, you know, Mark, you were saying you use some Twitter challenges, right?
I'm just not that into Twitter. I've tried. I just, you know, it doesn't excite me. So here's what I do with Twitter. This is, and you know, Chris, you're going to then teach me how I should be using Twitter and help me see the value in it, because I think I represent probably a lot of professionals out there who say, oh, come on, I don't have time for Twitter. You know, Twitter's not that important. It's not going to really. So here's what I do, Chris, and teach me a better way. I mean, really, the way I conceive of Twitter is just a place where I'm publishing out the titles of other pieces of content that I'm doing. So if I've done a blog post, or if we're doing a video, or if I'm doing you know, something over on Facebook, I might hop over to Twitter and just kind of take a shot at creating a little catchy title and say, hey, just publish this, come over here if you want to read it. So I mean, that's pretty much my confession of the extent to which I use Twitter. Somebody follows me, I follow them back, but I don't really engage with people on Twitter. I mean, confession, true statement.
So first things first, I think part of the way you're using it is right. In other words, you should use Twitter, Facebook, Google Plus, and all your social media outlets to drive people to a central location, preferably your mission control center. If it happens to be just a post on Facebook, if you don't have your something on your on your content mission control center, then and you're publishing a Facebook post, yeah, sure, then tweet it out. So that's okay. That's pretty much standard. But one of the challenges that professional practice builders always have talked to me about, especially when they to understand. I'm going to say, let me preface this by saying, as Hannah would say, love me where I'm at. I don't have a million followers, but what I do know is how I've been able to build the followers I have, some of the steps along the way, and some of the challenges I've had along the way, and some of the things I wish I would have done differently, and some of the things that people tell me that I'm doing right. So first of all, I'm going to skip ahead and say engagement is key. So if you're only going out there and publishing stories, a lot of times you won't get many new followers, and you won't get people to completely engage with you, because you're just feeding them and you're just shoving them. And if you think about it, you're accomplishing your goal. You are telling whoever's listening that you've got to post someplace else. So you're not really asking for them to engage on Twitter. The engagement comes from asking questions on Twitter, and maybe saying, hey, tweet this hashtag and let me know what you think about this topic. Or, hey, I'm trying to figure out, respond. The next 10 people who respond with a hashtag I love it get, a free ice cream cone at the local ice cream shop, something like that. Or it ends up being an engagement where you do tweet about something personal and you start a little mini conversation with people. So engagement on Twitter is the key. But let me take a step back, because here's a couple of things, big mistakes I made, and I want to make sure that anybody watching this does not make the same mistakes I did. First of all, Twitter does not overtly publicize the fact that they will only allow you to follow 2,000 people. Now, you're going to say, wait a minute, you're going to... No, they'll only let you follow 2,000. Now, now, right now, everybody is crinkling their nose and going, wait a minute, Obama's got 1 billion followers, and Oprah's got, Justin Timberlake's got this, and all these people have that. How do they get all these followers? Well, that's what I'm about to tell you. Twitter has an algorithm that they've set up that says people who are going out just following massive amounts of people and aren't getting anybody to follow them back must be going out and must be a spammer, scammer, must be, doing something wrong. So we're not going to let you follow any more than 2,000 people until you get a certain amount of followers. So the odd part is that there's some, I've seen some articles written that claim that Twitter does about an 80 to an 85% follower to following ratio. In other words, if you follow 2,000 people, you need to hit at least 1,600 followers to start being able to follow more. I can tell you from personal experience that ratio doesn't apply, or either that, or I've just been completely slammed by Twitter. I haven't figured out which one yet, because my ratio is close to 90%, and they're still stopping me from following more people. So the reason I bring that up is this: first of all, when you're the correct follower following strategy is to always keep, in my opinion, is to always keep a buffer of about 100. So in other words, don't follow any more than about 100 more people than follow you. So if you've got 200 people that follow you, don't follow 500 people, follow 300 people until you get 300 people following you, then follow 400 people. That way you're keeping your ratio very close, and when you hit that 2,000 limit, you should be able to exceed it and keep getting more followers. The other thing that does for you is keeps you from being in the situation where I'm in, where sometimes I can't follow new people, and I've gotten some big names who are starting to follow me, and I want to follow them back, but I have to unfollow somebody else until my ratio gets fixed. So I struggle on a daily basis, and I don't want to buy don't buy Twitter followers. Don't fall for these send me $5 and I'll get you 3,000 followers. That's all actually a violation of Twitter terms of service. So you can get banned from Twitter for doing that. So here's what I did. And this is interesting because it appears to have been working. My ratio is my ratio is probably 90% right now, Mark, and they're still not letting me follow anybody else.
Okay.
So what I did was all the people I followed at the beginning, when I first started Twitter, when I wasn't tweeting a lot, when I wasn't somebody you wanted to follow, I went out and I created messages that I am sending on a daily basis, a few times a day, in groups of 5 or 6 people to say, look, I'm following you. You've got great stuff. I'd be honored if you followed back. And here's the 2 reasons why it's actually working. Reason number 1 is the people that I followed at the beginning that looked at me and said, you have 3 tweets. Why should we follow you? Are now looking and saying, wait a minute, you got 2,000 tweets. Okay, you got all these videos and pictures. You might be somebody I want to follow. So at least now giving me a chance. Mm-hmm. The second thing that I did that became an unintended consequence is I've had a lot of people text me and go, I'm honored to be in such great company. And I'm like, okay, what are they talking about? And what I realized is, like, I follow some people like Ken Blanchard. So I didn't exclude any of the big names. In a group of 5, I maybe put Ken Blanchard and 4 other people. And what happens is that you're getting mentioned to that person might retweet it to their followers. And then all of a sudden, one of the other people you've included realizes that you're following a big name and them who might not be somebody who's known. And then they end up going, oh, wait a minute, this is, they feel better. And I can tell you, if you're watching this, I'm going to say, in my least defensive mode possible, I didn't do it on purpose. I now realize it probably actually is a good thing to do.
You discovered the Twitter name dropping strategy.
Well, and that's the thing of it. So here's the other thing. We have 3 minutes left, so I want to give you one more. So the first strategy is keep your ratio keep your ratios pretty solid. In other words, don't follow any more than 100 people more than follow you. Number 2 is if you followed a lot of people and you were new on Twitter and you didn't get a lot of those people following back, before you unfollow them, go out and tell them that you're following them, say thank you, and see if they'll follow you back. And I will tell you, my stream of thank yous runs out in about 10 days. And at the end of May, there's going to be very few people who don't follow me back that I stay following. There's specific reasons.
Necessarily dissing you by not following back. They just may not be paying attention. So asking is a pretty logical strategy,
Yeah, exactly. Well, and also think about it this way. If you followed somebody when you weren't tweeting, they had absolutely no reason to follow you back.
Right. You had no content, right? So
you had no content. You had no reason. They had no reason to follow you back. Here's the other strategy I'm using to get more followers. And I did this in all, and I did this because this is what I would want people to do for me. I've come up with 3 hashtags. One is hashtag FAVlove, one is hashtag RTlove, and the other one is hashtag mentionlove. Yes, I purposely didn't shorten mention because, didn't want to give the wrong impression. I could have went me love. I mean,
Yeah. Right. Okay.
Here's the point. Every single week, when somebody favorites a tweet, retweets something of mine, or mentions me on Twitter, I send out, once again, a group thank you to 4, 5, 6 people and say thanks for the fave love and put all of their Twitter handles in. Because even though it's not complete interaction, it's one of the things that's missing from Twitter. You don't get the old please and thank you. And at least this is registering, hey, I've seen the fact you mentioned me. I've seen the fact you've retweeted something, or I've seen the fact you favorited something of mine. I appreciate that. And while I will admit that, I'll say I'm in the middle of the whole Twitter fave mentioning and that sort of thing. When I get thousands of people doing it, I hope to continue doing that at least in some form, because it's something that it helps them, it helps you, it helps everybody. We're up against 8:30. There's one more thing I want to add. We're up against 8:30. One more thing is send out great content by other people. There's a service called, and I'll plug it, called Gaggle Amp. I think that's what it is. The whole point is they help curate content, and friends of yours join it, and then they ask you to come and distribute their content. I've got a lot of followers because on there, people like Joel Comm and Lori Ruff, the LinkedIn diva, one of Forbes top 50 influencers, and Joel Comm, one of the best social media guys in the country, kind of one of the, I'll say, I think of him one of the founding fathers. If you don't know him, look him up. Yeah, exactly. If you don't know him, look him up. And yes, it's kind of bizarre. His name is Comm. And he does social media and communication. So I thought it was kind of a nickname, but we'll talk about that later.
It's really his name, yeah.
Yeah, but the whole point is that, and now what's happening is that I'm a part of that. I send that content out, and he will favorite it or retweet it. And since he's got 100 or 1,000 times more followers, when he retweets it and you've got your name in it, you at least get exposed. So it's something that it's do unto others as you would have them do to you. Retweet, do things. Whoops, something was going to fall. I had to stop. So anyway, we are up against it, Mark.
Show, so you don't miss reminders and episodes. We are going to be here every Wednesday.
Yep, exactly. And if you're watching on Weekly Tips Live, look below. You'll see the sign up form. Get the reminder. And until next time.
Hey, what he said.
What he said.